So iPadOS has everybody excited about the iPad Pro and the iPad Mini and the Air 3 and other more expensive iPads in Apple's lineup, but we cannot forget about the iPad 6th generation, which is a great budget-oriented device. And today I wanted to do a quick late review of it with regard to iPadOS. But before we continue here, I'd really appreciate it if you'd smash that like button and leave me a comment, as the YouTube algorithm loves interaction. So you doing so will help me get my videos to more people. So once again, your likes and comments are much appreciated. So without wasting any more time, let's jump into this review. So this is the cheapest new iPad you can pick as of right now. It's running for around $250 to $300 for the 32 gig model on sites like Walmart, Best Buy, Amazon, etc. And yeah, I'm going to review this product here in regard to iPadOS. So let's jump into the 5 most important categories here. So beginning with design, this is the iPad Air 1, essentially, with Touch ID, a couple differences here and there, but it's the same design and has the same air gap in the display, which we'll go over in a minute. But yeah, it's not at all a bad design. It's actually very comfortable to hold in the hand. It has curved edges, as you know, and yeah, it's not at all a bad looking device, but it is definitely outdated. So yeah, if you're someone who's looking for something, new and radical and futuristic, this is definitely not the device for you design-wise. We also have down-firing speakers here. They're not quite stereo, but they're loud enough, and they're good for, music listening and YouTube watching. You also have a headphone jack, so if that's important to you, this is a device that you should definitely consider. So yeah, there really isn't too much to say about this device's design. It's pretty legacy. We've seen this stuff for the past 5 years, but it's not bad looking by any means. It's very ergonomic, and if you're not looking for something too insane, this is definitely a device, once again, that you should consider, especially at its price point. Moving on to display here, we have a 9.7-inch diagonally 2048 by 1536 display with a pixel density of 264. It's LED, so it's not as high contrast and nice looking as the Liquid Retina found in the iPad Pro. There is no True Tone here, but it's definitely nice enough, to do YouTube watching and some gaming here. It's not a bad display by any means at all. It'll do the trick for, once again, media consumption and productivity. You should have no issues here. It's big enough. iPadOS scales pretty nicely, especially in landscape mode. So yeah, it is a nice display. It is actually no different in terms of pixel density to the iPad Pro, so if you're worried about sharpness, that is not an issue. But again, the color quality, just overall quality of the display is not going to be as good. Once again, no True Tone. But yeah, it's a totally enjoyable display for reading, media consumption, gaming, etc. And for the price, once again, this is the theme here, how cheap this is. It's a great display for what you're paying for. Moving on to battery life here, we have a 32 watt-hour battery paired with an A10 Fusion chip, which is not as power efficient as the newer chips, like the A12 and A12X, but you do get decent battery life on here. I have not tested this enough to give an accurate reading myself, but from what I have seen in tests, you can get around, 6 to 7 hours of battery life on here. Of course, depending on what you're doing with it, if you're doing heavy, intensive tasks, you might have to charge, a little bit more often, but this can definitely get you through a day of usage, especially if you're doing productivity work, web browsing, video watching, things that aren't super intensive. But if you're doing like video editing and like stuff that really does suck power, expect to charge a little bit more. But yeah, battery life is actually pretty admirable on this device, especially if you buy it new, without the battery degraded. Moving on to camera here, if you're an iPad photographer, this is not the right video for you, because I'm someone who just uses my iPad to take pictures of kind of mundane things that are, important but not photogenic, like documents, school, work, whatever, assignments. And this iPad has the camera that was in the iPad Air 2, so it's like 8 megapixel, not that great in low light, the focus is kind of okay, it takes 1080p video, and that's about it. It's nothing special. It'll do the trick, once again, for kind of mundane tasks, and that's what you should be doing with an iPad anyway, other than, like FaceTime and stuff like that. And with FaceTime, this iPad will work just fine. The camera quality is enough, because, you're streaming video. You don't really need the highest resolution camera to have a good FaceTime call. And the front-facing camera is 1.2 megapixels. Nothing that special, but it will definitely do the trick, once again, for FaceTime and just some random selfies and dumb pictures. Once again, if you're an iPad photographer, this is definitely not the device for you. But if you're like most people, I think, who don't use their iPads as their primary cameras, this camera setup on here is more than fine. And last but certainly not least, let's talk performance with the iPad 6th generation here. This device totes an A10 Fusion, which is found in the iPhone 7 and 2 gigabytes of RAM, so not a bad hardware configuration to start off. If my iPad Air 2 can run iPadOS decently, this definitely does, and I can tell apps open fairly quickly. This is, locked at 60 Hertz. As we know, I'm used to an iPad Pro with 120 Hertz, but I'll tell you, even with this display that is, obviously lesser than what I'm used to, it's a nice experience. Animations are smooth system-wide. As you can see, I can toggle the control center here and toggle the multitasking switcher. Things are not lagging at all. Apps open pretty quickly. Apps stay open too, 2 gigabytes of RAM seems to be enough for, some multitasking. Nothing serious, but again, you can keep most apps open. Of course, some are going to have to refresh, but yeah, 2 gigabytes of RAM is, pretty sufficient for, keeping some apps open. So yeah, for like everyday tasks, like web surfing and just schoolwork, this device is more than good enough. Here, let's demo the Notes app. Pretend like you're using the first gen Apple Pencil, which is compatible with this device. It's a very smooth experience, even with writing at 60 hertz, I will say. So let me just, write my name here. Yeah, it's totally usable to take notes with the Apple Pencil, whether you use GoodNotes or Notability or the Notes app, watching YouTube videos, web surfing, light gaming, all that good stuff. This device is made for that, and the price range is just perfect if you are on a budget. So this device isn't just for simple tasks. You can do some, photo editing and creative work on here if you are so inclined, especially with Apple Pencil. It seems like it would be a great experience. But yeah, just be aware that you're dealing with, 2016 hardware here with the A10 and 2 gigabytes of RAM. So you're going to be limited a bit, but this device is definitely capable again for some creative tasks. And last but not least, you get Touch ID here, which is not present with the upper end iPad Pros. You have Face ID, which can be sometimes gimmicky and annoying sometimes. But yeah, this is pretty fail-safe and very easy and fast to unlock. And yeah, that about wraps things up. I hope this video helped you out if you were considering purchasing the iPad 6th generation. It is still a very viable and super affordable device, and I highly recommend it. And I just want to quickly add, if you decide to get the iPad 6th generation during the Prime Day sale that's going on, if you want to support the channel, I would appreciate the heck out of you if you would use one of my affiliate links listed in the video description. By doing so, you help make videos like this possible. I'd really appreciate it if you'd leave a like on this video, comment if you have any questions or suggestions, and subscribe for more content like this. And as always, I'm Noah, and I will catch you all in the next one.